The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network.
Welcome to the 15-Point Plan. Chad Himes here, joined by the quirky Jillene Snell. Hello, Jillene. How are you today?
Hey. That one makes me laugh.
Well, I just do my best to keep you on your toes as to how I'm going to introduce you. Jillene, we are here going deeper. We promised everybody as we went through the 15-Point Plan that 15 minutes an episode, which is our attempt to stay on. Yes, is not enough to talk about each of the points on the 15-Point Plan. So we're coming back and we're going into goals and we're going to dive deeper with a few episodes on goals, including a fantastic interview we've got coming up that you did for us.
Yes, we do.
All right. So I'm excited to hear that one myself. But Jillene, we're going to start with goals. And we're going to start with a term that everybody out there thinks they know the answer to. And that is?
SMART goals.
What is a SMART goal? That's right. So, Jillene, before we get into them, tell me, what is a SMART goal?
Well, we'll go into the acronym of what SMART means in a second.
Yep.
But it's a method that brings structure and trackability to our goals and objectives. So instead of using like vague resolutions, SMART goal setting creates a verifiable trajectory. I love those two words.
Big words.
Towards a certain objective with clear milestones and an estimation of the goal's attainability.
Okay.
Yep.
Verifiable trajectory. I'm going to keep those words with me for a while. Keep going.
Yep. So what we want to do is we want to take those goals, apply the SMART method so that we can actually bring them to reality. And truly, like without a method like this, our goals and objectives in life become a series of chaotic happenings that we're not necessarily in control of. So then we become this plaything of coincidence.
Okay.
And I don't know about you, but I'm just not okay with that.
Well, that just kind of sounds a little fun, actually, though. A plaything of coincidence.
So using this method to attach to our goals means that we agree, Chad, that our goals, the things that are meaningful to us in our lives are worth it and that we are worth it. So then we're putting our goals first. We're not making everyone else's goals our own.
Okay.
So that's like what a SMART goal is and what's behind it. And I know we have a lot of some other ideas of what's behind it, like the history of it, Chad.
Yeah, I'm going to take everybody through the history, yet I'm going to mention in the history what SMART stands for, or at least the original definition.
Okay.
I want everybody that's listening out there to take a second and tell us. Yell it back to your phone, your radio, wherever you're listening to us. Yell out what you think SMART stands for, okay? Because I know that 97% of you just got it wrong. But let's talk about the history of the SMART goal before I lay out what SMART stands for.
Okay.
And we're going to go from there. Okay, so it's accepted that the SMART acronym first was written down November 1981, Spokane, Washington, right here in Washington State, where George Doran, a consultant and former director of corporate planning for the Washington Water Power Company, published a paper called "There's a Smart Way to Write Management Goals and Objectives." So it came right here, but 1981 is the first time it's been written down. There have been discussions in the history of other conversations.
Yeah. So this was around before I was born. Just had to state that.
Wow.
It's been around a while.
I was double digits and you weren't born yet. All right. Let's just keep moving before I jump across the desk and, I don't know, run out crying or something now. All right. So here's what Doran said. He said, how do you write meaningful objectives? That is, frame a statement of results to be achieved. Managers are confused by all the verbal from seminars, books, magazines, consultants, and so on. So let me suggest, therefore, that when it comes to writing effective objectives, corporate officers, managers, and supervisors just have to think of the acronym SMART. And ideally speaking, each department should create goals, SMART goals. Now, here was the original criteria. S. Jillene, what do you think?
Specific.
Okay, you got that one right. Very good. A specific area for improvement. The M, what did you think?
Measurable.
Okay, that's right. Measurable. Everybody in the audience got specific and measurable. Now,
Mhm.
Jillene, I know I quizzed you. I know you also have the answers in front of you, though. I know you didn't have this one right when I asked, but what was the A originally?
I said achievable.
You did say achievable, which is what 97% of our audience is yelling at their
Mhm.
podcast. Yet looking at the notes, Jillene, the A,
Assignable.
it was originally assignable, meaning who's going to do it? It has to be a task that can be assigned. We're going to come back to this one. The R, you thought was,
Realistic.
which it was originally, right? State what results can realistically be achieved. And then the T, most people get,
Time related.
time related, time bound. Now, here's an interesting thing. SMART at one point actually became smarter. You got to like when smart becomes smarter,
Heck yeah.
right? The E stood for evaluated, meaning that you could evaluate the goal. And R stood for reviewed, so that you could go through it. There actually used to be an ER. Now, the letters definitions have changed over time, Jillene. I want to get into each letter and break down SMART goals so we can help our audience understand how to use this term to truly set goals. Some of the letters they know, some of the letters they've been guessing at what the definition is over years.
I mean, it makes sense though that Doran was using this particular method for his corporate setting.
Mm-hmm.
When, today we're a health-based podcast. We're
Yep.
talking about your personal goals as much as we are business goals.
Yep.
So the revised SMART acronym is applicable to both business
is.
and personal goals.
Absolutely. So we've agreed, and everybody out there agrees. The S stands for
Specific.
that's it. So Jillene, talk to us about specific.
Yeah, and I'll use a few examples here as we go. Specific goals are goals that have a clear image behind it. It's detailed. That word detailed is key, and it's meaningful to you.
And I want to hold those words. We're going to come back to those words. Keep
Okay.
going.
So a few questions you might ask yourself when you're setting your specific goals and objectives would be, what exactly do I want to achieve?
Okay.
Where do I want to achieve it?
Okay.
How do I want to achieve it? When do I want to achieve it? With who do I want to achieve it? What are the conditions and limitations? And why exactly do I want to reach this goal?
You see, and that's an interesting one. I'm going to come back to you on that again. So give us an example. Jillene, what's probably one of the most common goals that's thrown out there before people get into smarting that
Yeah.
goal up?
Again, we're a health-based podcast,
Absolutely.
so most people would say to lose weight.
Yeah.
And some guys and gals might say to gain muscle.
Sure.
That's a good one too.
But make
But
that
I would
specific.
say I want to lose weight is a vague goal.
Yep.
And making that specific could sound something like this. I will lose 25 pounds by dropping 1 pound per week and exercising 30 minutes or more per day.
That sounds very, very specific.
And in my world, in my business, a lot of people tell me, especially who I'm interviewing to join our company or people who I'm asking about their long-term goals, they tell me, I want to invest in real estate.
Okay.
Vague goal.
Yep.
And I love it as a starting point. How we would boil that down as a specific goal would be, I will buy a duplex by selling blank number of widgets
Yep.
and saving blank dollars per month for the next 3 years.
Okay. Those just became very specific. So, folks, think about your goal. I want to do blank. Okay, that's not specific. You might have a number in there, so you're thinking you're specific because you said, I want to lose 25 pounds, or I want to make $1 million, or I want to whatever. That's not specific enough. We have to go farther with the how as part of the specific.
Sure, and it's a beautiful starting point. So just let it be your starting point and then apply some of the strategy behind it.
Okay, the M, not debated. M stands for
Measurable.
That's it. Not debated. There's never been a conversation about what the S or the M stand for. Jillene, how do we measure? What's that measurable mean when we're putting together our goals?
There's one phrase that I like for this one above all else, and that is, what does winning look like and how will I know when I've won?
That would be very specific for measuring something.
It is. And so how are we going to track this goal? So Chad, you use a couple apps for your fitness, right? So
Yep.
How do you track your food? What app do you use?
MyFitnessPal.
And for exercise,
I've got my Whoop band that's tracking me on that.
right? Peloton tracks.
Peloton, Connect, my Garmin Connect. Yeah, I've got tons of different
Yep.
apps I'm using.
Ragnar's going to track your pace,
Absolutely.
your time, everything like that, right?
Yep.
So We want to be able to measure it, not necessarily with a tape measure, although if it's weight loss, that could be, right? But find ways to add these specific and measurable milestones that will also keep us motivated,
Okay.
right? Because we can actually see that, hey, out of the 25 pounds, I've already lost 5.
Right.
It's a milestone.
Okay.
And we won't know that if we don't measure.
Okay. And when it comes to measuring, not only does it mean we can measure, like I'm going to lose 25 pounds, but it's how are we going to measure is part of that, right? I'm going to lose 25 pounds by weighing myself daily or by weighing myself weekly or whatever it is that you want to do. So keep that in mind as you're putting together the measurable. Okay, Jillene, A. A is one of those highly debated letters in SMART. A has gone through many different answers for what the A could stand for. I asked you at the beginning of the podcast, you always thought A stood for
Achievable.
achievable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And my comment to that is goals aren't meant to be achieved, right? Goals are meant to stretch us. Goals are meant to push us to another place. If we're just settling for achievable goals, what kind of goal is that? That's a weak goal and we're leaving something on the table. So I knew in my heart that attainable was never what A stood for. Now, doing the homework here, I have found out that assignable was the original.
Yep. And the other one is actionable.
That's the one that I've always believed and seen in the research that I've always preached to people. It's actionable. Because you see, assignable, we're talking about goals that are assignable just right back to us. I'm going to lose the 25 pounds. We're not talking a corporate. It's actionable, meaning you have to do something to make it happen.
Sure.
Because you can't just say, well, my goal is to lose 25 pounds sitting on my butt doing the exact same stuff. It's never going to happen. There has to be action involved. Okay. So there's an argument as to what A stands for. And sadly, you could go on Google and find any of the answers to justify it for yourself. What are your thoughts on A?
Well, I've always looked at it a little bit differently because I think it's meant to be a stretch goal, so something that's challenging but also doable.
But if it's a stretch goal, it's not supposed to just be easily attainable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think achievable is probably my favorite word, achievable and actionable,
Okay.
because we want it to stretch our abilities but still remain impossible.
All right, Jillene, let's keep going and move on to the R. Now, R is another one of those argued letters in the SMART acronym. I asked you at the beginning, what did R stand for?
I said realistic.
Okay, and realistic, completely acceptable, right? That it has to be some sort of realistic. I can't say I'm going to, lose 400 pounds. I'm not realistic. I can't do that. I don't have the 400 pounds in this situation, okay? The other ones that R has always come up with was reviewable, so something I could look back upon and look at. But Jillene, the R answer that I've always believed is relevant. And if you go back to listen to the recording of what you've even said, when you talked about specific, you said it had to be detailed, that's specific, and meaningful to you. That means relevant. You gave me questions to ask myself when setting goals, and you said, why do I want to reach this goal? That's a relevant thing we're reaching for. The goals have to matter to us. If I don't really want something and it's not relevant to me, it doesn't matter that I have S.M.A.R.T in place. I'm not going to do a thing about it.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts about R?
Yeah, I think sometimes, again, we take on other people's goals as our own versus clearly knowing like this is what we want for ourselves and we are worthy of it. And for relevant, I would say we want to look at the number of goals that we have, the objectives that we have for the week or the month or the year, and say, okay, which one is the highest priority? Which one would be the second priority? Which one would bring me the most joy or the most fulfillment or have the domino effect, right? And then is the one that I'm choosing right now, applying this SMART plan to, is it relevant to our other goals as a top priority? For instance, I have quite a few goals right now. I'm like wanting to remodel my deck. I'm actually in progress of that. Remodel my bathroom, buy an investment property that I'm pending on, And there's some other things, of course, with business that I have some big objectives that I'm doing. Yet, Chad, I have a goal of learning harmonica.
Why?
I kind of play just offhand, like I'll break out a harmonica around a fire pit or whatever.
Okay.
And I want to do better. Like I want to learn it and be fluent in it. But when I stack it up to my other goals, it's just not relevant right now.
Okay.
So that's an example that I would give from my own personal life. And I think we can look at our other goals and decide whether or not it is relevant.
Okay. Let's hit the T. T is one that everybody's got. We've all known what T stood for all this time. Jillene, the T stood for?
Time bound.
Yeah, it also actually can stand for tangible. That was one of the things I found when I was doing my homework, that it was a tangible goal that we could achieve as we went for it. But T is time bound, which means a goal is not a goal unless
it has a deadline.
There you go.
Yep.
Right? It's got to have a deadline. I don't think there's any question on what T stands for. Ben has said many, many times, right? Don't take a year to accomplish something you can do in 90 days.
That's one of my favorite quotes from him. And that actually is one I've been living by recently. I hope everyone writes that one down. Can you say that one more time?
Don't take a year to accomplish something you can do in 90 days.
And part of that is because there's a greater chance of failure in lengthening the time of certain goals, because you lose energy, you lose motivation, you can fizzle out. And, oftentimes it is possible to do it in a shorter period of time. We just need a plan behind it. And we're giving the audience that plan today on the podcast.
Yes. I got off the phone with someone today who said they're going to do something and it's going to give them 6 weeks to do it. And I said, you can do it in 3. Why do you need 6? Right. And they knew that if they did it in 6, they were just giving themselves a cushion of time to not get it done.
Yeah.
Right? Always time bound, as short a time frame as possible as you're following all the letters of SMART. All right, Jillene, we've got specific, we've got measurable, we've got attainable, actionable.
Sure.
Okay. We've got realistic, relevant, and then we've got time bound.
Are you sure you're not just throwing everyone off here, Chad?
I'm throwing everybody off because I'm wanting them to understand there are different definitions that will get you to a different result. Attainable and realistic, they're the same flippin' thing, folks, and they're not pushing you.
Right.
Actionable and relevant is something that matters to me that I have to do something about and will get me to a finish line quicker.
I love that.
So, Jillene, give me a simple, let's just run through one really quickly. I'm going to give you the goal of people say, I want to be healthier. We're here talking about health, energy, happiness. I want to be healthier. SMART it up for me.
Okay, so we're using the weight loss example. SMART or specific would be, I want to lose 10 pounds.
Okay.
Measurable would be weigh myself daily to measure my progress.
Got it.
Actionable would be track and control what I eat to take action.
Okay.
Relevant would be it matters to me because I want to be swimsuit ready, so it is relevant.
Got it.
And then time bound would be I want to lose 10 pounds in 90 days.
Okay, that way you're ready for swim season. All right, Jillene, take us home. Wrap this up when it comes to using SMART goals.
So I think most of us often interchangeably use the term vision and goals to our own liking. So vision is the destination that we visualize that we want to achieve, but the path is really unknown. And this is where goals come into play. They help us set that path for the rightful achievement of our visions, and they act as milestones. So using the SMART goal plan to map that path will get us to our vision, our goals, our dreams. And it's exciting to think we can accomplish anything when we put a little bit of a simple plan. This is not complicated.
No.
Unless you try to argue, what acronyms mean what. But it's a simple plan that helps us get to our big visions.
Okay, folks, you've all known SMART goals. If you're listening to this podcast, I'll believe you've heard the term at some point, read the book, read it somewhere, something. We're going to challenge you to really figure out what SMART stands for to you. We're going to really challenge you to take your goal, sit down, and make it a SMART goal. And as always, we hope this episode ups your energy and takes you to the next level.